Good. Okay, we get to the lessons today the same way that we've done it before. You are probably, yes, you're going to have your chat box open again. But we go to the website and then to the page for educators and community members. And the lesson today is in the Fighting for Change side, and it's the third one down. And both the speaking and the listening modules can be found when you click on the button. Now, you'll also see that there are, as in some other cases, some supplementary materials, and primarily those are for you. But the one that's here across the divide, I'll just click on that so you can see it. This is kind of like a summary for the kids that you, if you're teaching it in person, you can hand out to them at the end so they've got a reference. There's also PDF, well, it was a PDF, it's now a Word doc here, on rights and responsibilities, because that's talked about, the kids are referring to it at the end of the lesson. So we give them that to take home too. And usually we just print those back to back just to save paper. But going back to the modules itself, whoop, wrong one. Fighting for Change across the divide. All right, you can see that the two folders are there for the listening and speaking, and we're going to work with the listening first, and then the second part, we're going to be working with the speaking part. And that's because if you can't listen, it's not going to make much difference if you can speak. The script is there again, and just this morning I went through and I color-coded what was for remote presentations and what was for in-person presentations. So anything that's in red is what you do if you're doing it remotely. And I'll tell you, I'll give you a heads up. Ray used the whiteboard the other day. So I played around with that and I think I've figured it out, and I think it is just as good as Jamboard, maybe even a little bit better. So that will save Energizing Young Voters some money if they wouldn't give it to us free of charge. The other thing is that now that Google has the ability to give you a shared screen when you're in breakout groups, which you'll be in today, I'll walk you through how you get the shared screen. And then on one side, you will have the document that you need to look at. And on the other side, you will see everybody in your breakout group. And if it works the way I think it's going to work, it should be really much better than before. And you can see there are a couple of other worksheets and scenarios there or sheets with scenarios on it that you'll be using. The same thing is true with should show you that. The same thing is true with the speaking unit. And when we get to this, there are two versions. We're going to use the middle school version today, just so you can see it. And then these are things that if you're teaching in person, you would print and distribute during the actual lesson. But let's go back to the listening. Before we actually start with the kids, remember the activity that I told you about, having them stand in one corner for pizza and stand in the other corner if you like plain and if you like toppings on it. And then the kids would try to convince one another why their position was better, and we give them the opportunity to change. There's a very similar activity here, and it's just to kind of set the kids' minds up about the fact that there are disagreements in society. But if we can listen to the people who have a different point of view, they might impact us, and they don't have to. We can keep our own opinion. We don't have to believe the same thing that someone is telling us to believe. We can have our own opinions. In the remote version of it, if you have your chat box up, and I should have mine up, but I don't. So give me a moment. And I didn't hit the record button yet, did I?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, thank you. All right, so if the chat box is up, I paste it in, hit enter, and then you can connect to it. And we're not going to take a lot of time with this. I just want you to see how it works. It's a poll. Ah, there it is. It's working. All right. So it's the same sort of thing. They would just make a choice on the form, and then you can show them that there are different opinions and clear the form, and then you're all set to go. So we're not going to do that today. Instead, we're going to go on because you've seen that. There are a couple of hidden slides in this. This one is different from what you've seen before. I did not write this lesson. This was written by two people who are trained facilitators for an organization now called Braver Angels. It used to be Better Angels after what Lincoln said, but it's dedicated to helping people with divergent political views learn how to talk to one another and find some kind of common ground, even though they don't change their own opinions. So they distilled what they knew from working with adult groups into what would work with middle school students and high school students. And they started the lesson with their objectives, but I really liked the guiding principles that they put at the top, where it says we state our views freely and fully without fear. So that is the goal, one of the goals. And we treat people who disagree with us honestly, with honesty, dignity, and respect. And we actually welcome opportunities to engage with those with whom we disagree. So I'm just showing you that because that's available to you, and I just think it's good. This one is the slide about how to use breakout rooms. And
there we go.
That's it. Yep.
Okay. So I'm just going to go back and give you a quick look at that. So the second slide is where those goals are for the adults, and then the objectives for the kids. This one is the directions on how to use breakout groups if you're teaching remotely. I'm not sure why I hid that one. We'll see what happens when we come to it. I'm actually going to unhide those so that I can skip through them quickly if we don't use them. And that's pretty much what's hidden in this particular one. So let's go back to the beginning. In the script, again, there are the exact words and there are a lot of directions to the teacher because we started doing this remotely. It works so much better in person. So I'm also going to be talking through how you do that. Right. So this is, as the script says, it's easy by looking at the news, by social media, or even by listening to our neighbors, that communication, whether it's about pizza or politics, is an issue today. Differences of opinion are inevitable, but we can learn how to manage those differences and conflict. But in order for democracy to prevail in our country, we really need to be able to do this. We need to be able to talk with others in a civil manner, and we need to be able to listen to others to understand them, even if we don't agree with them. And we don't have to. Conflicting opinions have been part of the democratic small d process since before the Revolutionary War. Our goal today is to give you some practice, some very beginning practice, so that you can use listening and speaking skills to help you bring about change more effectively. And it will take practice, not just today, but over and over. And I can almost guarantee you that if you do use these skills, that all of your relationships will improve, even those that are already good. The first critically important skill that we are going to dive into more deeply is the ability to really hear and understand others, regardless of the content and regardless of their position on an issue. Since really listening and not just hearing the sounds come out of another person's mouth is critical to finding common ground, that's what we're focusing on first. Today, you'll have a chance to practice the art and skill of listening, and then we'll talk about your right to be heard and respected, as well as your responsibility to hear and respect others. Active listening makes people feel understood and valued. And when people feel understood and valued, then common ground can be reached, even if it's only tiny in the beginning. Okay, today the world is filled with hot topics. People have strong opinions about them, and they take sides, and they disagree. Here are some of the hot topics that kids have suggested as we've worked with them. And in the notes, it says to the teacher, make sure you use the words that are in the script to describe them so that we can stick to the issue agnostic policy. So in order from left to right at the top, immigration, January 6th, guns, COVID, education, racism, privacy, and what else can you add? And then you give the kids a few minutes to add whatever. Then take a few seconds to think about this question and write down, and I hope you have paper and pencil handy or a pen, write down one thing that you already know helps you have a successful conversation on a hot topic issue with somebody on the other side. What's just one thing that might be helpful? Write it down for yourself, please. Now, in a classroom, while the kids are doing this, I'm walking around the room and I'm looking at what they're writing. And as I walk past and get a couple of seats away from them, I will say aloud what I saw that I thought were really good responses to that. I'm curious to know what you all thought. Judith, how about you? What did you put down with something that you could do to have a successful conversation?
Don't interrupt the person while they're speaking.
Thank you. Beth?
Eye contact.
Sandra?
I would ask them to explain their position.
Okay. Deborah, you still there?
Yes. Maybe rephrase a couple things that they say just to confirm that I understand.
Okay, good. And who am I missing? Rita?
I also said not trying not to interrupt them.
Okay, good. So as adults, you have learned these skills pretty well, it sounds. So this may be just a repeat, and you'll be looking at it as a way to help kids do it. Kids do not know how to do that. They might have some good ideas about how to have good conversations, but they're not going to be saying the wise things that you come up with. All right. So we are going to be using some of your ideas about how to have successful conversations with more day-to-day type things today, rather than starting with a hot topic. It's easier to practice if you're doing something that's less likely to raise really deep emotions with you. And it's the skill that you can practice, not working with your own feelings and try to work it out. And then you can graduate to topics that are more, that are like those that we showed before. One step at a time. Practice active listening every day in small ways, and do it with your friends and the important adults in your life. That helps you prepare to discuss the hard stuff when it's needed. So today we're going to practice, and we're going to take it slow and easy through the first step. The first step is to recognize and identify the speaker's feelings. When you listen, you name for yourself the feelings that you hear. And these emojis are some of the feelings that people might be expressing. And of course, the emojis are much more appealing to kids than if we put words down there. I'm going to read you some statements now. And I want you to either write the word down for that feeling, or you can draw the emoji for yourself if you prefer. I want you to pay attention to my words, but also pay attention to my tone of voice, my posture, my facial expression, and other nonverbal cues that I give. All right. So here's the first statement. I'm supposed to vote tomorrow for the very first time, and I'm not sure I'm going to do it right. The ballot, the whole process seems complicated to me. All right. Write down or draw what you thought felt like. I don't know what to do. I'm biting my nails. If my work doesn't improve soon, I'm going to fail this class. And then here's the third one. I've tried my best, but I just can't seem to satisfy anybody, especially my teacher. Okay, and then we go back and we ask the kids to tell me, what about the first one? When I'm talking about voting tomorrow for the first time, what do you think I was feeling? You can call these out.
Frustrated,
Okay, what else? Mikey?
Nervous,
Nervous. What else? Anything else?
embarrassed.
Mhm.
I feel like I could be embarrassed. Yeah.
Lack of confidence.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of like, well, I guess it's not quite like nervous, but it's similar. Okay. The one that I was aiming for was nervous. So whoever it was that said that, bingo. The others are not wrong. They're just not what I was actually trying to express in my feeling. So the second one, when I talked about if my work didn't improve, I was going to fail.
Scared,
Fear. Mm-hmm.
Frustrated.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Embarrassed.
It could be. Yep. Okay. What I was trying to express to you was my nervousness, but those words that you came up with are really close. And so you would have been able to communicate, hear my communication better. And then the third one was not being able to satisfy my teacher.
angry.
Frustrated.
Okay, good. I was mad.
All right.
It was your tone. It was your tone. Yeah.
Good. So that's the first step. You've got to hear the feelings. And if you can name them, you can respond to them better because you've had those feelings yourself. So you know what it feels like and you can better adjust the way you respond to somebody. And it's okay to guess wrong because the person that you're talking to will correct you if you're wrong, just like I did. Say, well, that wasn't exactly what I was feeling, but close. Now we're going to give you a chance to do a trial version of active listening for feelings. Take a look at this slide again and think about some of the emotions that you might use in the practice session. We don't have all that many people here. When I'm in a classroom, I usually have the kids work in pairs right now because it's less likely to create embarrassment. And they, working with somebody that they know well, they can kind of laugh off what is, if they make a mistake. So here's the procedure. There are going to be, what, we could probably try doing this in breakout groups. Now I'll leave the breakout group for later. So they would work in pairs and one of the people is going to be the reader first and one of the people is going to be a listener first. There are going to be some scenarios written on the slide and the person who is the reader picks the one that they want and they think about the feeling that they want to communicate like I just did. And then they're going to say that statement to the partner. They were going to have about 30 seconds. And then the partner's job is to listen, to try to identify the feeling, just as I asked you to do, using both words and body language, and then tell that person what it was. And then you'll switch. And I found that one of the quickest and easiest ways to tell the kids who starts first is to say, the person whose first name is closest to A in the alphabet is the first reader, and then you'll switch and the other person will be first. So that's just a little teaching strategy that I've used. Okay, so, all right. Can you see the scenarios there?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so read through them and choose the one that you would like for yourself. And then think about the feeling that you want to try to express. Okay, who would like to be, should we use the person whose first name is closest to the beginning of the alphabet, or is there somebody brave enough to do one to first, and the rest of us will listen and try to guess the feeling?
Alphabetize.
Okay, thank you.
Did I? I just said to alphabetize.
Oh,
But I will do the first one.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to read it and then,
You're going to read it with that feeling in your voice that you want to express to somebody else.
okay. I'm having a hard time figuring out the electives I want to take next semester.
Okay, I'm going to make Sandra your partner. Sandra, what do you think she was feeling when she said that?
I think uncertainty and frustration.
Is that right, Judith?
Yeah,
Okay, Sandra, you pick one.
I can't believe it. I told a friend something in confidence and he thought it was funny, so he told his buddies. Now everyone knows.
Beth, how about if you react to that one?
embarrassed.
Is that good, Sandra?
I was hoping to feel angry.
Oh,
Okay, but see, she told you what she was feeling instead. So then you would be able to respond to her feeling of anger. Beth, do you want to choose one of the other ones?
sure. I really want to play varsity next year, but I'm not sure I'm good enough.
Deborah, how about you?
I'm thinking she's feeling anxious.
Is that
That's
good, Beth?
good. Yeah. Good
Oh,
read, Deborah.
good. All right, Deborah, I think there's one left for you.
Okay. Let's see. We learned about cyberbullying in class, and now I know what it's called. I think that's what's happening to my best friend.
Rita?
Anxious for her friends, you know.
Deborah, was that what you were trying to
Sure.
express?
Mhm.
Okay, good. So when you continue the conversation, then stating that feeling that you thought the person had first, and then responding to the content second, makes it easier for the other person to continue the conversation without feeling as if they're not being heard. Okay, let me go back. All right, so active listening. You're going to see a couple of short videos. Okay, you're going to see 3 short videos, and I'm going to stop in between them. Yeah, okay, sorry about that. I was looking at remote and then in person and getting confused. All right, we're going to watch the videos, and on this, the speakers are going and the listeners are going to make some mistakes. And I'm going to ask you to write down on your paper what kind of mistake you think they're making before they explain what those things are. So the link is here.
Charlotte, I'm so upset right now. It's my senior season and I finally made varsity. And now all the games are canceled because of COVID and I don't know what to do. It's like I'm never going to play soccer again.
Well, did you talk to the coach and see what he could do? Maybe he'll let you play. So
I don't want to talk to the coach right now because I'm just so upset. Like I just need to get my feelings out.
well, maybe if you try talking to him, he'll be able to help you with this COVID
Yeah.
situation.
I don't know. I just can't talk to him right now. I'm just so upset.
Okay. So what do you think the mistake was that it's Charlotte on the left-hand side? What do you think the mistake was that Charlotte made? Write it down. And then she's going to tell you.
Okay, so we're going to pause right here. This is an example of how to not actively listen. So as you can see, Jess was very upset and I did not recognize her feelings, but instead right away, without letting her express herself, I just tried to jump and solve the solution for her. So you do not want to do this with active listening, and instead you want to hear her thoughts before you try and bring up a solution.
So did anybody get that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, I did.
I wrote trying to fix
I
the
did.
problem.
Games advice.
I think this is really good. I mean, I've done this because I'm a counselor too, but learning how to do it with kids is an excellent idea.
It's hard, I think, I mean, I'm known in my family as the fixer. So it's really hard for me to step back and not solve the problem.
I was gonna say, it's such a man thing to do. That's the first thing my husband does when I
Yeah.
have a problem is, well, did you try this or did you try that? No, just listen to me.
Just let me vent, just let me vent.
Yep, that's all I need to do right now. So that's the first one. Okay, let's listen to the second one that they do.
Now we're going to do a second example of how to not actively listen.
Charlotte, I'm so upset right now. I finally made varsity and I'm a senior, and now all the games are canceled because of COVID. I feel like I'm never gonna play soccer again, and this was my one chance to like finally prove myself.
Well, the same thing happened to me. I finally got the lead in the school play and not even perform at all because of COVID.
Like I know Charlotte, but like I just kind of don't care about that right now. Like I just need to talk about me, and I'm just so upset.
Okay, so we're going to pause here again. So this is a
Okay. What'd she do wrong this time? Write it down for yourself.
People do that all the time.
That's my biggest problem.
I have to catch myself too.
And that's what, every time I teach this, it's a reminder to me to be conscious of the way I respond to other people. Right. So what'd she do?
I just because I have a friend that does it all the time. It's annoying.
Can you put a word to it? Do you know what it's
She made it about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about me. Yeah.
Or I'm giving you another example that you should take from the example.
Mhm. Or you shouldn't feel so bad for yourself because
Right.
other people experience the same thing.
Right.
So it's really kind of annoying. So let's see if I can do this time without hitting the wrong button.
example of how to not actively listen. So as you can see, Jess was very upset. Instead of me letting her express her emotions, instead I just jumped and turned it onto myself to explain an example of when it happened to me. So you do not want to do this when actively listening. Instead, you want to recognize their emotions and let them expand upon it now. So now we're going to do an example on which I actively listen to Jessica's issues.
Charlotte, I'm so upset right now. I finally made varsity and I'm senior, as you know, and like now all of the games are canceled and like I'm never gonna be able to play soccer again, and I'm so upset and I have no idea what to do right now.
Well, I'm really sorry you feel that way, Jess. I'm sorry that happened to you. I know it must be tough.
Yeah, I'm just so upset. And like I was looking forward to like being recruited and like scholarships and going to college and maybe playing soccer. And like I feel like now that's all gone and don't know what to do.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. That's terrible. I know how focused you are on your future and how this can impact it. And I'm sorry that happened to you, Jess.
Thank you, Charlotte, and thank you for listening.
Great. So this was an example of how to actively listen. So not only did I let her express like the issue and what happened, but I also let her explain how this made her feel and expand on this as well. So this is an example of how to actively listen because I did not turn it onto myself at all. And I did not try to jump in with a solution right away. Instead, I just let her express her emotions.
Okay, so what's your reaction to the third example that Jess and Charlotte gave us?
It worked. It worked. I think she felt better that somebody listened to her and she was able to vent and not be judged for it.
She felt heard,
Yeah.
Right.
so she was validated.
Yeah.
And not try to be fixed and not given a one-upsman or anything like that. Just actually listening to hear what she was feeling and to understand it, not to have to do anything other than that, just understand it. Okay.
She empathized with her.
She what?
She empathized with
Emphasized. Yes. Okay. So the next step that we need to do after responding to the feeling that someone has, which is number 2 here, is to begin to respond to the content and to the feeling. And that's what you heard Charlotte do with Jess the first time. You can say that to them, you summarize what you've heard, and then you say it back to them, and they have a chance to tell you whether or not that's what they were actually feeling. And that way you can keep asking for clarity, and the person recognizes that you're really listening to them and really trying to just be a sounding board for them. You can keep asking for clarity. I heard you say, is that right? Or you can pursue the exact feeling, like you sound angry. Is that what you're feeling? And like we did before, well, not exactly. I was really feeling more like blah, blah, blah. And then you can continue the conversation. So it's really helpful to the students if we model that for them first, model an entire conversation, because the next thing that we do is to have them practice, and again in pairs. So I told them that I'm going to give you some directions, and when I finish the directions, we're going to look at this slide. And now this is where we're going to try to do the split screen. I think I can do it. We'll see what happens. Remember that the first person is going to be the reader. And again, they choose a statement to read dramatically, just like we did before. So that's not different. But this time, you're going to respond to the feeling first, and then also to the content. And then try to continue the conversation for a couple of sentences more after that. So you're going to listen for feelings and then content in order to hear the full message. Now, the other thing you need to do, just as we were looking at each other, you kind of have to listen for tone of voice and watch body language to be sure. But don't forget, the person will correct you if you have made a mistake.
Advice is my love language, so I hope it wasn't me that's always trying to fix your problems.
No.
Okay, there's the feelings and the repeat. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So here are the scenarios. I hope you can see that too. And
Yeah.
at the bottom is that image again. All right, so now if you're in a room with just one or two other people, there's one for each one of you. So read through the three of them right now. You picked the statement that you like best, and have you picked the feeling that you want to use in expressing it? Rita, I'm going to pick on you first because I think you were the last one I picked on before, right?
Okay. My dad got amazing tickets a long time ago to the playoffs, and now we can't go. It's so unfair. This whole thing stinks. No one is ever going to get sick there. They're making a big deal out of nothing, and I'll probably never get to go again.
Okay, Judith, I'm going to give you the first practice session. So you listen to her, try to figure out what the feeling was, and then respond to the feeling and then the content.
Oh, Rita, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. It's just such a terrible time. I understand that it's something that your dad probably thinks he has to do, but I know how much you're going to miss it because the playoffs only come once a year. But I guess what you'll have to do is just kind of wait it out.
Okay, Rita, do you want to respond?
I don't want to wait it out. I want to go.
Yeah, I understand, but I guess I guess it's something that's may very well be in your best interest. And I know you don't want to get sick, and I know you don't want your dad to get sick. So I hope you'll just kind of think about it again, and maybe maybe in the future there'll be something else that'll come up, or they may even get you tickets for something else. So
Okay, I'm going to stop there. You did some things that were really good, Judith, and I think you fell into one of the traps. What are the rest of
I'm
you?
going to solve the problem for her.
You caught it yourself.
What's that?
I said you caught it yourself. Good for you.
I just couldn't stop, you know,
That is so
and I know
funny.
better.
And I know, and most of us do, but it really takes practice to fall into the best way to listen to somebody. And
Yeah, but she was really angry. You're not going to satisfy Rita at all.
but yeah, but Rita, if Judith hadn't tried to solve your problem, would you have heard more? Would you have felt more heard, or was it okay with you the way she responded? I mean,
No, it was like,
really bad.
I don't want, nothing's gonna solve this problem, you know,
Except tickets.
except tickets, yeah. So,
So what would have
Yep.
been something that you would have preferred that she do or that she say?
I probably that, thank you for listening to me. Can I call you again if I need to talk to you?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so if we just left out the part where you tried to solve the problem, she would have felt more heard and she would have asked for some the future to do. Okay.
I don't know.
Um,
She was pretty resistant, but that's okay.
I did that on purpose, yeah.
I know you did. I know. Yeah, I'd hate to tell you what the first words that came to my mouth were to describe you.
Especially, one of the things that when I worked with adults, I used to teach an active parenting class. And I used to say to them, if you're talking to your child in a way that's different from the way you'd talk to a friend of your own age, then you're probably not really hearing them and you're probably not really supporting them, because you do that with your friends most of the time. But we tend to talk down to kids when we're, working when they're our own and we think we've got to solve the problem, we've got to, keep them in line and stuff. But kids need to be heard too, and you can solve the problem later, but give them a chance to be heard first. Who am I going to pick on? Deborah, how about you? Would you pick one of them? And
Sure.
go ahead.
I've been picked to be captain of our team, but now my good friend isn't talking to me because she was hoping to be picked.
Sandra, you want to take a shot at that?
I thought wait, I just read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Deborah.
Sure. It sounds like you are, I'm happy for you to be captain, but it sounds like you're worried about your relationship.
Sandra,
With your-
respond.
I am. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether to tell the coach I'm okay to be captain, or because that may mean I'm losing a friend.
Yeah, there's a lot of good and bad in this situation.
Keep going, Sandra.
But how can I solve it?
What do you think you could do? What options do you have?
I'm torn because I really want to be captain and I also really like my friend.
Well, why don't you go? What would you want to say to your friend?
Okay, I'm going to stop the conversation there. What is the reaction the others of you had to that conversation? How did it go?
I thought she was good. I thought the fact that she came to the end and said, what do you, what do you think? Talk to your friend, I think I know it's problem solving for her, but I just felt that if she, that's a good way.
I like the way she said, what would you say to your friend instead of talk to your friend?
Okay.
It was interesting in that Sandra actually asked for a potential solution and Deborah threw it back to her to come up with it, or just like lead her in a direction where maybe she could solve it herself.
Anybody have any ideas about how, I mean, she was being put in a really tough position because she was the idea was, I want you to solve this for me. And she was doing the right, Deborah was doing the right thing. She was holding on and essentially letting the other person who was concerned about this solve the problem themselves. But some people don't want to do that. And then you can just reflect on that feeling. I understand that you're really having a hard time with this and you don't know what the solution is. And I'm glad to listen to you. I'm sorry that it's not good, but you know, just go on from there kind of thing. All right, one more. Who didn't I pick on yet? I think
Me.
everybody. Okay, Beth, go ahead.
I have the last one. Oh, I just saw this horrible post about me by someone I thought was my friend. I can't believe she'd do that. I told her something in confidence and now it's all over the place.
Rita, you want to try to respond to that one?
Me?
I'm
Read it.
thinking, that sounds like you're feeling very let down and hurt.
I feel betrayed.
That must be a terrible feeling.
I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should approach her, and now everybody is going to be believing or just like taking stock in what she said. And it's so wrong that she did that.
You said you didn't know what to do, but have you thought about what you might want to do?
Well, at this point, I just have so many emotions just swirling around. I'm out of sorts.
Well, probably that's that's very expected. I mean, it's a terrible thing for, as you said, to feel betrayed. How do you think you can handle those emotions?
Oh, right now, I just really need to vent.
Well, I'm here to listen.
Thank you, Rita.
Awesome. Practice makes perfect. See, as
Yeah.
we went through the number of conversations, it got you were much more aware of the things that really are going to make the other person feel better rather than trying to solve the problem. So in active listening, this is kind of a summary. In active listening, what we try to do is to hear the feelings first and then hear the content. And then once we have heard and expressed both of them, we relay that back to the speaker, and the speaker will correct us if we're not wrong or extend the conversation. I mean, correct us if we're wrong and then extend the conversation and you continue. You just have to be so careful, we all do, with not jumping in to try to solve the problem or do the one-upsmanship. All right, so managing conflict is the next thing that we're going to talk about. And many times, even if you understand the other person's view, and even if you accept that it's true for them, it's not true for you. And if it's not true for you, there can be a feeling in you of strong disagreement, and you might become angry or agitated or ready to lash out. But conflict in life is inevitable. People are not our clones. And so we need some skills to be able to manage these differences. And communication skills can help us do that. They're not magic, but they get us a. And managing conflict isn't easy. People have different styles to deal with it. Some styles are good, and some are not really mentally healthy for us. Think about how each one of these looks when you and an important person in your life, like your best friend or an adult you love, have a conflict. Here are the main ways that we see a lot and that people deal with it. And these are the styles that don't work so well. If you try to use force or competition, What's happening is you're trying to prove that you're right and they're wrong, that your idea is better than theirs. So why doesn't this work? Well, it often makes people want to fight back. You're not resolving it. You're actually probably making it worse. So that's one of the things that does not work too well. The second one is one that personally I fall into an awful lot because I don't want to create an issue. So I might pretend that nothing is wrong, even if I feel very hurt or very angry.
If you wanna, you check.
An example might be if somebody your age that you admire makes you feel as if your clothes aren't the right style, and you completely ignore what they said. Why doesn't it work? Well, inside of you, those feelings don't go away. You put them down because you don't know what to do or say to resolve the conflict. So it seems easier to just avoid it. But the conflict doesn't resolve, and it can eventually cause to the loss of that relationship because you're not willing to interact with them anymore. And the last one is suppression. And that can be either you suppress something yourself or you suppress another person. If you suppress yourself and your own feelings, you tell yourself it doesn't matter. And you start to think that your feelings don't matter. And you just have to always tiptoe around and make sure the other person is feeling okay. The other thing is if you try to suppress the feeling of others, and when you do that, they start to feel as if their feelings don't matter, that they aren't as important as other person's feelings. And so neither one of them is a healthy thing to do. These are communication mistakes. The differences don't go away. They just go underground and get buried, and they will pop up again in a different way, shape, or form. So how do we work through the differences? We need some basic understandings before we go on. We need to talk about civility. I want you to write the word civility on your paper, and I want you to circle the word civil, which is the root word for civility. And then I want you to write a definition for civility that emphasizes that root word. What does civility mean? And this is another situation where if I'm in person, I will walk around at this time. And as I see something that I think is really good, I won't stand by that student to say it, but as I'm walking, I will repeat what I said so that the kids hear things without attaching the meaning to any particular student. But let's hear what you all said. Who wants to go first?
I said polite.
Okay.
Courtesy.
Okay. What else?
Respect,
Thoughtful.
I'm sorry. What was that, Judith?
respect.
Respect. All right. Who am I missing? Rita, did you?
Thoughtful, kind.
Okay. And Deborah, I guess you're the one who hasn't.
Sure. I said it's a way of consistently treating others with respect and value.
Okay. Good. Sandra, you gave us yours, right?
Me?
Yes.
Yes, I said courtesy.
Right. Okay. So all of
Courteous.
you came up with something that is really an essential part of what it means to be civil and to demonstrate civility. The word actually comes from a Latin word, and most of our words in English come from some other language. So this comes from a Latin word, civilis, that means befitting a citizen. And that's what we're going to be. We are going to be citizens in public life eventually, but we really are now too. The dictionary definition says the use of politeness and courtesy in behavior and speech. So all of you hit on that target. If your definition didn't come close to something like that, then please add the words. Now, these kids have a worksheet if they're in person, and so they're going to be able to take this with them. So writing it down helps to reinforce what it means, and taking it with them, they have something to refer to. Some of it will wind up in the waste can on the way out, but not all of it. And even if you impact a couple of kids, it's going to be a good thing. So after they've had a minute to do that, then we say, just like in the picture, the dominoes, which is kind of like the relationship between you and the other person, can always be on the verge of collapse, one way or the other. Or like a ping pong game. There'll never be a lasting solution if you're not civil with one another, because sometimes you'll win an argument and sometimes you'll lose an argument, but they won't really get solved. The second thing we need to understand when we talk about civil conversations is that we have rights and responsibilities. And again, we would have the kids write those words on their paper and then ask them to write a definition of what's a right and what's a responsibility. So in your own words, on your paper, write down what you think rights means and what responsibilities mean when it comes to having good communication and civil conversation on difficult topics. Deborah, what did you write down?
I'm not really clear on the assignment, but I said rights are expected to be given an opportunity to speak, and responsibilities would be giving other people the opportunity to speak.
Okay, how about you, Rita?
Rights, I put things that you feel that you're entitled to, and responsibilities, how to treat others and do the right thing.
Sandra?
For rights, I just put entitlement, and responsibilities I thought were pretty self-descriptive. I didn't put anything down.
Okay, Beth?
I had deserving for rights, and under responsibilities, respect.
Okay, Judith?
For rights, I have guaranteed by law or religion, and then the responsibilities are to humans and to yourself.
Okay. In this lesson, we're going to talk about rights as some of what you said, guaranteed conditions, things that should be given to everybody all the time. So things like respect. And there were a couple of others that you said, and they've gone from my head now. And the responsibilities are the things that we're always expected to do, ways that we're expected to act, or a way that we're expected to treat somebody else. So anybody who follows the Marvel universe knows that even those who are supposed to be on the same team often have differences. Even if we're working towards the same goal, conflict and differences can still arise. And you can see this in our democracy. In the United States, we put a high priority on basic human rights, but we don't always put that into practice in our everyday life. In our everyday life, if we're good citizens, each one of us has both the right and the responsibility to communicate our point of view effectively and to communicate about conflicts effectively. Remembering that each and every one of us has rights and responsibilities, and putting that into practical use can help us work together better. I have the right to be treated with respect. I have the responsibility then to give others respect. I have the right to be heard, and I have the responsibility to listen to others. In other words, it's the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In today's world, we see this as the underlying foundational element that's missing in our nation, our media, and our neighborhoods. We can't emphasize this enough. We can learn skills forever, but unless we understand that the golden rule is a cornerstone underlying any communication skills, then we'll never be consistently effective in our communication. Great. So this is a slide that now that I'm reading the teacher's notes again, this is a skipped slide unless you're going directly to speaking to be heard, which is what we're going to do. So it says to really work through differences, we need to learn how to collaborate and negotiate. And the more skilled we become at those two things, collaborating and negotiating, the more effective we'll become at working with others in a civil way to bring about real solutions that have an impact on all. The key to managing conflict effectively is recognizing that we need each other. We need to work with one another in a way where both of our positions are heard and where we can jointly come to an acceptable outcome, even if that's not perfect in either of our minds. So there are a variety of personal communication skills that help us manage conflict. Active, attentive listening, both verbal and nonverbal. Clear, respectful speaking, including verbal and nonverbal skills. Respectful identification of differences. And mutual compromise or agreement. That last one should have been skipped. All right. So let's quickly review what we did today. We each have the right and the responsibility to communicate effectively. We need civility in order to engage in a civil democracy. Conflict is inevitable, but we can manage it. Unless people feel heard and valued, it's really hard for civility to be achieved. And like anything else, new skills need to be developed and practiced. And then how will you do your part? Now, one of the things that the authors of this felt was really important was for the kids to walk out with some kind of actionable behavior in mind. What I want to ask you to do is to write down one thing that you will do today because you participated in this lesson. Now, maybe it will be something like, I'm going to listen for feelings of my husband when I get home. Or maybe it will be something like, to remember the golden rule. But write down just one thing that you can you think you will be likely to do because you were here today. What are your reactions to that when you think about using it with kids? What are you what's your gut reaction?
With kids or with adults?
With when you use this with kids? Yeah.
Oh.
Keep it simple.
Was it too complicated or do you think it was simple enough?
I think it was simple. I think kids, middle school, high school kids are generally so self-absorbed. So if you just kind of repeat what they're saying and let them reflect on that, and then it works.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay. The other part of this is speaking. And one of the things that is we felt was really important was for the kids to learn that there are different ways that you can respond to somebody. And some of them will make people want to put their fingers in their ears and not listen to them. And other ways will let people be more likely to hear what the other person's point of view is. But the other piece of that is that when we talked about rights and responsibilities, that we actually have a responsibility to express our point of view. And if we're talking about the political world, if we don't do that, then what happens is that all people hear is the other side. So if we want to create a situation where both points of view can be considered, we've got to have some courage. We've got to be willing to put ourselves out there and not shove our feelings down the way I talked about when we were talking about dealing with conflict. Now, you can do that by sticking your toe in the water. You can do it by jumping in or throwing the baby into the water, as we talk about. But I happen to be a stick my toe in the water kind of person. And so I will tend to begin a conversation with somebody like by saying, you know, I don't want to try to change your mind. I would really like to understand what your position is. Are you also willing to listen to what my position is? And wait for them to say yes. And if they don't say yes, then I back off until I find somebody who is. And then I practice with that person. It can work about difficult subjects, including politics and religion. Took some practice, but we both agreed that if it got to the point where either one of us was beginning to be very upset about it, that we would say, we need to end this conversation and talk about something else because I'm getting upset. And just acknowledging that it is my feelings that I need to have acknowledged. By doing that with a good friend and we trusted each other, my skills developed and so did hers. And she actually said to her husband maybe a year ago, finally, now we've been friends since 1968, maybe 69, something like that. She finally said to her husband, you know, I finally realized Pat's not trying to change my mind. You know, she just wants to be able to say what she's thinking too. And she will listen to what I have to say. We both know we're never going to change the other person's mind. But it does help to, like, one example I'll give you. She, like I said, she is a deeply, deeply conservative person and very, very basic Christian, fundamentalist in her beliefs in Christianity. And she also had the feeling that the immigration problem was that people should just stop coming across, that they, shouldn't. And then once they get here, that we should ship them back. And I said to her, based on your Christian values, I need to have you explain to me how your Christian values and your position on the immigrants are, that they balance one another, that they support one another. And she said to me, well, she said, the first thing they should do is depend on their families. And I said, well, what if they don't have a family that they can do that with? Let's say, they have come on their own and they're living in Newark, New Jersey, and their family isn't around them. And she said, well, then they should depend on their church. And I said, and what if they don't have a church? And she said, well, then they should. And I said, okay, so now I have a better understanding, is that your belief is that everybody should belong to a church and have some kind of a view about faith, and that it's that faith community that will then support you. And she said, yes, that's exactly what should happen. And I said, okay. And I said, I have a hard time with that because I also know that there are some people who would be very uncomfortable depending on a faith community, that they don't believe the kinds of things that you and I believe, or that she believes in, that I believe in a lesser, less intense way. But at least I had a better understanding of how she could be this very deeply Christian person and have what I was viewing before as a lack of compassion for people who were dealing with very difficult circumstances. So at least it clarified it for me. It wasn't that we agreed. And I will tell you that one of the things that has happened since is that she and her husband have started sponsoring people to come from Central American countries into the United States. They will act as their sponsors. So I'm not sure that our conversation did that, but I don't think it would have happened when it happened if that wasn't the conversation that started.
You planted the seed.
Well, I was really not trying to plant a seed.
No, but you did.
Really- Yeah, I was really trying to understand, but the point that I'm making to you as adults, and I would not tell this to the kids, but the point that I was trying to make was that you can understand without having to believe the same thing. And that it can smooth over some rough spots in a relationship if you can do that. So to me, it was a very, very meaningful experience. So some of those skills, and again, this is going to be a very surface level thing because we want kids to develop the skills with easy stuff before they have to dive into things that are difficult. So we're going to go back. I said we're going to use the middle school version, and the only difference between these two are the kinds of scenarios that we present to the kids. These are more appropriate for 13, 14, 15-year-olds. Okay, so in this one, we start out with a graphic organizer, and I'm going to show that to you. And this is the whiteboard that I've figured out how to use. Here, let me see if I can make it larger. Okay. So we set this up in person so that there are 5 or 6 of these sheets, and on each one of the sheets, there is one of these statements in the middle. So one group will get, let me borrow your homework to copy. Another will get, your jacket sewed yesterday. And then the third one is, why didn't you stand up to that bully? And so on and so forth. And we have these folded and we have them in a box. And we tell, the kids are sitting at tables. We tell them to come in and sit 4 to 5 at a table. And we ask one person at each table, the person that's sitting at the end, you know, we make it specific. Come up and take one of these from the box and then bring it back to your table. And when they do so, they get back and then they have to have the other people at the table each write something in one of the boxes. And that should be the most realistic thing that a kid might say if somebody said that to them. So let's use the one, your jacket is sewed yesterday. What would go into this box? Judith, do you have something you can say?
You don't want to hear what I'm thinking.
Oh, no, I do.
But I'm a lot older. My answer would be, but it's so tomorrow.
That's actually kind.
So what? Oh, tomorrow.
You know, yours is so yesterday. Well, but mine is so tomorrow.
I would say your face is so yesterday. Go right for the jugular.
Well, I ordinarily I do that, but these are kids we're dealing with.
Well, I'm being a
yeah.
kid,
Oh, okay, okay.
so I'm portraying like a 12-year-old. If somebody said that to me, I would.
You definitely have a point there.
Okay, who's got a different one?
How would you know?
What?
How would you know?
I really don't care.
But it keeps me warm.
Okay, I'm just going to make these a little bit bigger so we can see them better.
Different strokes for different folks.
Okay, So that's the first step. And the kids they do a lot of giggling, kind of like we were doing. And then what we say is, all right, look at those 5 choices. You're at your table. Look at the 5 choices and choose the one statement that you think is the most realistic that kids might say, not do, but say. Your jacket is so yesterday.
Your face.
What do the rest of you think? Are you willing to go with that?
I don't actually
Yeah.
think it's because this is some kind of a bullying thing. I think that the kid would probably just walk away, not say anything.
Okay, but if they did say something, what would be
Okay.
the most realistic?
I really don't care.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I myself think it probably would be one of those two.
Oh, I've seen that on a jacket someplace.
I know I have too. All right. So at any rate, this kind of warms them up to the idea of speaking in a way that other people can hear. Oh, wrong one. So when we speak to be heard, we want to make sure that we do it in a way that other people will really be able to listen and not just respond in a way that is going to make them walk away or close their ears. So attitude matters. When you're trying to get somebody to understand your ideas, stop and think. Are you out to convince and debate and prove you're right? Or do you want to find a solution? Do you want to find common ground and understanding despite differences? And this doesn't mean you can't think emotionally, like the thought bubble, oh, you blankety blankety blank, or walk away, or, you know, all of those things that we said. But before speaking, if you can stop and get clear on your goals and choose words carefully, you can be more effective. In other words, it's more effective if you say it the way, if rather than say it the way you'd like to say it, that you work to say things in a way that is listenable, more hearable. And there are specific skills that we can use. And I'm sure you people know these, but the kids don't. So this is why we start with I statements. The first of these is the use of an I statement. I statements make it clear that you are speaking for yourself and not blaming the other person. I statements focus on your experience, your thoughts, your feelings, your reactions and decisions, not on the other person's beliefs or your judgments of those other persons. I statements offer specific, clear details so that the listener knows what you're talking about. So we have a formula for that. And it's on the other side. And the formula is what you see at the bottom there. I feel, and then you describe the feeling like in those emojis. And this is a description of what happened and then why you feel that way. So you are giving a lesson to somebody else about what's going on inside of you. So in the next screen, we're going to listen to 2 other young ladies share examples of you statements and then how they can be rephrased into I statements that say the same thing, but in a more effective way. So I'm going to stop, I hope, after each one of their statements to kind of give you a chance to absorb the differences between what the 2 statements are before I move on. Let me go back to the beginning.
You are so annoying when you interrupt me.
A better way to say this would be, I feel annoyed when I'm interrupted because I feel that you aren't listening to me.
Next one.
You hurt me.
I might listen more if you said something like, I felt hurt when you said that because I'm already sensitive about my weight.
You are so wrong.
Instead of telling me I'm wrong, how about I don't know if you have all the facts because there was no ice on the sidewalk at the time.
You never save a seat for me in the cafeteria.
I'd probably hear you more if you said, I feel upset when you don't save me a seat in the cafeteria because I want to sit with you.
You keep racing to get in front of me.
How about explaining it a bit more with something like, I really enjoy walking with you. I feel rushed when you run in front of me.
Okay, so now we're going to practice some I statements with one another. And remember the format that you just heard Abby use, the second speaker. The format is I feel blank when blank because. There's the scenarios. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay, so in the classroom, these would be printed, obviously. So the first one we would work through together with the kids. So if we're talking about the statement, I can't understand you, you're talking too fast. How does it make you feel when I say that?
Defensive.
Okay, that's probably one of the best words there. So if you're going to make it better, if you're going to make it easier for the other person to answer you or to hear you, what might you say? I can't understand you. You're talking too fast. Instead of that, I feel what when you are talking too fast?
I feel left out.
Because
I can't
I
follow.
missed some of the things you're saying.
okay, I think that's a good start for one. Is there another thing that another I statement that we can make for that same situation? I feel how when you speak so quickly. Because
Maybe frustrated.
because
I can't hear all that you're saying.
okay, good. Those are two. Another one, I feel frustrated, I think I would say, when you speak so quickly because my English isn't that good and I can't understand you. So whatever it is that is your feeling and why you're feeling that way is much more likely to be heard and understood by the others. And then once we've given that example, the kids have this worksheet and they work together in pairs to fill this out. So there's a you message. You shouldn't leave Hogan and Harper out of your party. So somebody has said that, like accusatory. How can you change that into an iMessage? How do you feel when somebody says something like that to you?
I feel angry when you keep telling me what to do because it hurts my feelings.
Okay, another one for the same you message.
I feel disrespected. And when you tell me what to do.
Good. How about the last one? You're always on my case. Just leave me alone.
Sounds like my daughters.
Okay, what could they say instead?
I feel like I have no peace because you're always asking me to do something.
I feel I have no peace when you,
When you continue to ask me to do something.
because,
Oh, when you ask me to do something. Because I'll do it on my own time.
okay. And one more example for that one. No example? Okay. When we work with this in schools, we give the kids these sheets of paper and we say to them, all right, each one of you write down an iMessage that's better than the you message that's there. And once they have all finished that, they share those with one another. And the group as a whole picks out the one of all of the statements that they think is the best change, which one is the best. And then they share those with one another in the whole group. So it gives everybody practice to do it individually. It gives them a choice of, they all will be listening and looking at the others, and then they have the ability to make the choice. And again, there are going to be disagreements among them about what is the best one, but they can eventually come to a decision. I only give them, maybe total of 5 minutes. So writing the iMessage is about 2 minutes, and then the sharing with one another and the picking is another 2 at the most, sometimes less than that, and then sharing with the whole group, because there's always conversation back and forth at that point in time. Okay, so let's go back. So these are some of the scenarios that you can use. If you want to extend that activity, you can leave these up on the board and have the kids make I statements first and then make their you statements. So that's another alternative for this activity instead of giving them the ones that are preset. All right, there are also some traps that we can fall into when we are trying to have better conversations, when we're trying to express ourselves more clearly. Even with the I statements, this is. So you can still fall into some traps. And Kat and Abby are going to fall into some of them. And I want to see if you can pick up what's happening here.
I feel hurt because you always forget my birthday.
How about, I feel hurt when you forget my birthday?
I feel angry when you never yell at them for staying up late because you always made me go to bed early when I was their age.
This might be better. I feel angry when they are allowed to stay up late because I remember having to go to bed early when I was their age.
All right, I'm going to give up on that. All right, in each one of those, one of the Kat did something wrong. So in the first one, did you pick up on what she?
Always.
Always. Well, you know the old story. If you do something once, it's sometimes. If you do it twice, it's always.
Okay, so you're right. The always was the thing that she fell into. And another word like that is never. You
Yep,
never.
never, you
Never.
never.
You never do this, that, or the other thing. So even though she was using the statement, she still fell into the trap. And the second one,
They sound like conversations I've already had with my kids.
Right.
the second one, when she said, I feel angry, you never yell at them for staying up late because you always made me go to bed early. And that was the always and the never. Another trap that they fall into.
I feel like I just don't understand. So can you tell me, how did you come up with that way of looking at it?
The clear intention of the word that is to make me feel stupid or ridiculous. How about leaving it out and saying, I feel like I don't understand and would like to know how you see things that way.
I understand you're against the death penalty, but how can you believe serial killers should be allowed to live?
I can't win with this one. If I argue, then I'm sticking up for serial killers. How about leaving the loaded part out of it and saying, I understand you're against the death penalty. Can you explain why you feel this way for all cases?
Another thing to keep in mind is that it's often better to skip the question altogether and make a clear statement instead. In the example we just gave, instead of saying, can you explain to me why you feel this way for all cases, it would be clearer and more direct to say something like, I understand you're against the death penalty. Tell me more about why you feel this way for all cases. I appreciate that you support immigration reforms, but why do you think illegal immigrants deserve free insurance when my mother can't even get her cancer treatments?
No matter what I'll say, I'll be dissing your mom. So, leave the emotion out of it if you really want to ask a genuine question. How about, why do you think undocumented immigrants should be eligible for free health insurance?
Or a statement like, your views are important to me. Tell me why you think undocumented immigrants should be eligible for free health care insurance.
Okay, so the idea behind that one was to not hide behind a question and to try to make genuine requests for information, and don't ask manipulative or gotcha questions. And a clue that we give the kids is if you can stick the word dummy in the sentence, then you know it's not genuine. So like, why do you think, dummy, that immigrants should get health care? Something like that can give them a clue as to whether or not their statement is a real request for information or whether it's a gotcha question. Also try to avoid questions that simply elicit a yes or a no answer instead of a more open-ended question that allows a more thoughtful response. If you can start it with why, what, or how, instead of do you, or would you, or can I. And finally, as you saw in the video, it's often better to skip the question altogether and instead make a clear statement. That's often more engaging and more likely to have a good conversation come from it. So this is another one of those activities where we would break into pairs. And in this activity, one person's the speaker and the other one is the listener. And you both have a chance to be a listener and a speaker. Again, there are scenarios and you'd read them silently, and then each person would choose the one that they would like to practice. And they should be different ones between those two people. The person who's the speaker first begins the dialogue by beginning a you statement and hopefully includes one of the traps. And then the listener responds to the you statement by using an I statement. And then the conversation continues and then they switch roles. But these are the scenarios this time. I'll let you read them so you see. All right, the scenario is you made plans with a friend for Friday night. And then you were invited to a party, but your friend wasn't. So you lie to that friend, saying that you don't feel well, and then go to the party anyway. Your friend finds out that you were there by social media the next day and that you ditched them. So the two people would be talking, and the you statement would be, you really, I just can't believe you did that. You ditched me and you went to a party and you left me out. So that would be the you statement. And then if you were trying to translate that into the I statement, the other person would say, well, maybe it would be better if you had said, when I felt really left out when you went to the party instead of being with me on Friday night, because I felt really left out when you left me out, because it made me
Friends.
feel as though we weren't friends, that the other people were more important to you. So that's kind of the way the activity goes. It sounds very confusing. I know that.
It is, yeah.
I think I better change the directions to that. What's happening in essence is that we're asking the kids to do the same thing that Kat and Abby did in the videos that were there. So maybe if I put the directions first and ask them to listen to what's going on in the girls' conversation, and then give them a practice session, it would be better. So I'll work on it. After all of this practice, this is the end of the lesson, and you say, all right, so you've practiced some ways to speak more effectively, and you've seen the difference in the way it can make a listener feel and hear what you have to say. If you do nothing else but incorporate just these tips, you're going to be a more effective communicator. But what else can you do? Well, there are some things that we know about people's body language. Besides what we say, we have to be mindful of how we say it. And when I'm doing this with kids in a classroom, I give them an example of when my daughter was a middle school student, and she would come home and she would just absolutely say something like, I'd really like to go out with my friends on Friday night. And she would, instead of saying it that way, say, I really want to go out with my friends Friday night. And my back would get up because of the tone of voice that she had. So the tone of voice is part of the communication. And according to some research, that's actually 38% of the conversation. It's not the words, it's the tone of voice, not just the words. Did you ever hear your mom say, it's not what you said, it's the way you said it?
How
When
you
she
say it.
said, because you now and most of the kids will giggle, So even more important than that is your body language. So if you take your hands and you put them on your hips and you swing, nod your head back and forth, that body movement is going to communicate more to your mom or dad or your teacher or whoever it is than just the words that you're speaking. So you do need to be aware of those things. And this is the percentage that supposedly it's broken down to. Now, I know there's some new research, and this is to you. There is some new research that says it's not quite that simple, but I still think it's a good diagram, and it lets the kids understand that the words they say are really a very small part of the communication, and it's all of the other things that would add to it that actually make for a good conversation.
Like any other skill, from driving a stick shift to hitting a home run, you need to practice these speaking skills. If you get used to using them in everyday settings, then they will become like a second nature.
When controversial topics come up, you can more easily default to a more effective way of speaking.
If they haven't seen the video about the ambassador program yet, we allow them to look at that. And then the last thing we do is put up all of our social media contacts. And I don't know if I've asked you this yet, but if you've got an Instagram or a Facebook account, if you would please follow us. We're really trying to build numbers. So if you follow us, then other people will see it through your posts, and that would be very helpful. At Energizing Young Voters. And I'm going to put it down here again.
I did say before, I think when you left the room, that I find that these these workshops, I'm going to call them workshops, are very, very good. You know, I think it's a good way for us to be able to connect with kids and to give them this information. Everybody will intake it differently, but at least we'll plant the seed and we'll get them to understand that it's much easier to deal with people if you deal with them civilly and if you deal with them in a non-threatening manner. So I appreciate the work that you know your league has done, and I certainly will be involved in it and use it.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, if there is nothing else, thank you for coming today, and you get out of school early.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right,
Stay
thank-
dry.
Bye.
have a good night, everyone.
Good
Yeah,
night.
you too.
Bye.
Bye.